already here. Has Philip Taylor lost a dart? Yeah, it looks like Phil Taylor may well. Has he dropped a dart on the way in? He's only got 2 darts. He has. He's lost a dart.
Maybe he only needs 2, Stuart.
Well, we're going to have to wait for someone to find a Phil Taylor dart, or for him to go and get another set. But it's not often that you see that, and there it is. He's found his dart. Much relief for Phil Taylor. You don't see that very often, where they just slipped out of his case on the walk-on. Kyle Anderson must have been thinking, yeah, I'll play you with 2 darts, Phil.
In a funny sort of way, that might actually relax Kyle. A little bit of a joke like that. But Phil's already relaxed, as you can see, having a bit of a laugh and a joke about it. Ordinarily, security guys take the darts onto the stage for us, but he must have wanted to keep them in his pocket. It might be just a superstition for him. But no, you're right, that does not happen very often.
But this would be a sizable shock, a seismic shock, if Phil Taylor loses to Kyle Anderson here. But for Kyle Anderson, who has, in the space of just a year really, found himself in the darting stratosphere. He was a good player on the Australian Grand Prix circuit, won a few tournaments, got himself up to number 1 in the Aussie Order of Merit, got himself a place at the World Championship, competed at the Sydney Darts Masters 12 months ago, lost to Taylor on that occasion, went to the World Championship, hit a 9-darter, and his life has changed, and here he is in the semi-finals against Philip Taylor. What a story.
It's a great story, isn't it? You know, he's the first Indigenous guy who's really pushed through in darts for the Aussies. He's done a great job of that. Good start from Phil, go to 134. But this is the culmination of every bit of work he's ever done. When he played Phil last year, he wasn't playing as well as he is right now, and he's got a lot more experience under his belt in the last 12 months, so he'll probably expect a lot more of himself. So let's see how he handles the pressure of that.
Yeah, Luna Park 12 months ago in the first round, Taylor won 6-1.
140.
It's all about learning, but the 9-darter at the World Championship really has changed his life, because he went over to England to play on the professional tour in the UK and in Europe with some success. And here he is back on home territory. Played in Perth, lost to Michael van Gerwen, but it's been a fairy tale week in Sydney for the new Aussie darting star.
And he likes to call himself the Aussie People's Champion. He's been, you know, spending time with the fans, which is great to see. You know, they say that 9 darts can't change your career, but it can definitely start it. And that's what it's done for Kyle Anderson. You know, he's got a very charismatic Aboriginal shirt. He's a very, very proud Australian. And he's going to love the spotlight up here, because one thing that everybody knows about Kyle who knows him, because he's a very oriented family man. He loves his little boy, and he loves being back in his homeland. But nothing phases him really. You know, he just doesn't get nervous.
81.
That's a disappointing last dart. Look at the bullseye here.
Definitely look at the bullseye. 25 it is, so he's got 57 remaining. Pat 17 for a skinny red bit at the top. Double top for the first leg, and it's 1-0 Taylor. That's the start he was looking for. Kyle won't panic. That was Taylor's throw. I'd probably expect Phil to come out of the blocks a bit.
60.
Kyle will want to score a little bit more heavy than that.
And Anderson's just got to have the belief. In the semi-final against Whitlock, his finishing was fantastic. 8 out of 11 on the doubles in beating Whitlock after he came from behind to take out Barneveld in the first round. So it's amazing what a bit of belief can do.
Definitely. We've got some very famous Andersons in the world of darts in the last 30 years. Obviously, you know, Gary Anderson, who I'm sure is enjoying his month off back in the UK. But the great Bob Anderson was a good finisher as well. So it's definitely a pedigree when it comes to the Andersons. So there we are, Taylor finding the maximum, getting a little bit of a lead.
Well, there may be a few Andersons, but there is only one Phil Taylor, that's for sure. Good response from Kyle Anderson to leave himself a finish. Hasn't done a lot wrong, to be honest with you.
He's got one of the Shane Burgess chances that we talked about last night. What would this do to the crowd? 167 it is, so 60, which he gets. Channel 19, which he gets. Bullseye, gets it! 1-1. Consider the crowd on their feet. Bit of respect from Phil as well.
Well, amazing Anderson here at Sydney. Well, the roof raised on the Horden Pavilion. We talked about his finishing, and that was absolutely fabulous. 1-1, what a way to do it. I think he's in this semi-final, okay?
He definitely is now. And I don't think that's going to rattle Phil, because that's the kind of thing that he expects players to hit against him on the tour all year round. But he probably didn't expect it that soon from Kyle. And for Kyle to do that, that will not just calm him down a bit by hitting his first double, but it'll get him pumped up. And that is what he has to do in this match. He's got to keep the aggression, and he's got to get the crowd going, and he's just done that.
Becoming a very recognisable face as well in Australian sport. Kyle Anderson had a lot of publicity in the media here in Sydney this week.
135.
He's been on Fox Sports on a couple of occasions, and he just comes across really, really well as a flag bearer for the sport here in Australia.
Yeah, he's very, very proud. He's been playing darts in Australia a very, very long time, Stu. He was a very promising youth player over in Western Australia with his brother Bo, taught by their father, and he's like the talisman, you know, of his community and his family, and he's so proud to be able to play on the stage against the man in Phil Taylor, and he thoroughly believes in his own heart that he can beat him. But Taylor for 2-1 to stay on the darts. Double 16 it is, so it's 2-1.
Phil Taylor, both ladies counted through first, he won.
Well, for Anderson, he's got to just keep toe, hasn't he, with Taylor in the early stages.
125.
Just hang on in there, steady away, good start, hold your own throw, stay in the game, stay in the semi-final, give yourself a position to build from. Very difficult against this man. He is flying, but so far so good for Kyle Anderson. The 167 finish will help, has helped, confidence-wise, obviously.
Most definitely, and what he's got to do is not panic, because he's a very steady player, very steady in mind, and he'll want to keep pounding Phil with finishes like that, but in order to get those finishing chances, he's going to have to score a little bit better than he is. Already see that the first start from Kyle has been a little bit high, and his adjustments haven't quite worked yet. And one thing he can't do with Mr. Taylor is he can't give him a lead, because he is the best front runner in the game.
Brilliant switch. Fantastic, and acknowledged by Taylor. Even he thinks that was pretty good. Yeah, you talk about the only time that I've really seen somebody give it to Taylor, when Taylor's been so far in front, is Michael Van Gerwen, the Players' Championship final at Minehead last year. We'll just see if Taylor can make it 3-1. Double 16 here for a breaker throw. But will return. I think Taylor was maybe 6-3 in front, but looked to be coasting, and Van Gerwen found a magical spell of darts. Just destroyed him.
95.
Doesn't happen very often, though.
Very rarely. Hen's teeth comes to mind.
Yep. I think in the Premier League final last year as well, Van Gerwen also 4 or 5 magical legs to get back into the final. Taylor breaks throw, 3-1 it is, but very rarely when Taylor gets in front you see him peg back. That's the point you're trying to make.
Yeah, definitely. I think the poster child for that particular statement is Michael Van Gerwen, because watching that Players' Championship final, when Phil was in front, everybody was saying Phil's going to win this. And what they saw from Michael Van Gerwen for that 6 or 7 leg spell, it was just nobody could talk.
No, it was mind-blowing. And in that spell, Phil Taylor didn't even have a dart and a double. That's how good Van Gerwen was.
And that makes it even more remarkable. what Phil has done in this game is he's broken Kyle early, which he will have wanted to do. And just looking at the way Phil's darts are landing, I think they're landing slightly different to last night. They're landing a little bit more side on, and from a player's point of view who has stood behind Phil before, that is not a good sign for Kyle, because when that happens, he opens the bed even more.
Been very relaxed in Sydney all week. Was relaxed in Perth last weekend, of course. Looking to make it back-to-back World Series events after winning a thrilling final against Michael van Gerwen a week ago in Perth.
Yeah, it was a fantastic final. I wasn't actually in the arena, but I was watching it on live scores, and it was just hammer and tongs, and all of a sudden Phil just found that other gear. Phil here for 4-1. Should be blocking it, but he'll probably go low. Oh, on the wire. Anderson way back in 2-4-5, so the scoring is letting him down. He's only had one opportunity at finishing off a leg, and he took it in style.
91, Philly LeBron 24. He's shown the fifth flag.
Convincing for Philip Taylor. 4-1 it is. And he looks to be on the way. Well, there he is, very well known figure in Australian Rugby League, in World Rugby League. James Graham, formerly of St Helens, now plays for the Country Bulldogs, of course, in the NRL. 41. A friend of mine, my guest here tonight, James Graham. Yeah, lovely lad, top player, and enjoying the arrows as well.
It's great to see sportsmen from Australia coming to enjoy the darts and seeing how big it's becoming. I know that Brett Lee's a fan.
Yeah, David Warner's here again. He was here the other night, the Australian cricketing star.
93.
It's a good switch from Kyle on the treble 18. But Taylor has done something which has quietened Kyle up. He's quietened the crowd. And that's what he had to do after that 167 from Kyle. Because if he got the crowd whipped up and out of control, Taylor could find himself getting distracted. Kyle sticking to his guns though, he's not panicking, not visibly anyway.
95.
The big tournament coming up in Germany next weekend, would you believe, on the European tour. Phil Taylor won't be there, Kyle Anderson will. He's qualified and he's going to be flying from Australia direct to Germany to try and have some success in that tournament as he tries once again to qualify for the World Championship.
57.
Yeah, Kyle has not actually been part of the Australian Grand Prix circuit this year. He's given the Pro Tour a go. He's had a little bit of success, made a Pro Tour semi-final, which is a great achievement in your first season. But this is going to be his first European Tour event.
Yeah, well, it's a big gamble for him because many people say if he'd stayed in Australia, he is the best player, or was the best player before he left to go to England on the circuit, and probably would have qualified for the World Championship. But he wants to better himself, he wants to win on the big stages, he wants to succeed, as he has here. But he's in a spot of bother against Philip Taylor. Double 16, will Anderson get a shot? There's your answer.
Phil's definitely keeping up the aggression there, definitely enjoying himself. The one thing I've noticed about Phil, especially this week, is that he still gets a kick out of these shots. You know, 82 is a Hollywood shot, as we call it, because if you go bull double 16, that hurts your opponent, because that's a very difficult shot. And he just still gets the real buzz from hitting doubles and hitting 180s and hitting 9-darters especially. And he's still setting himself really good goals. I mean, the 128 finishes last night, he hit 2 of them, and he was visibly enjoying himself by hitting both of them.
There we go. Totally dominant as he hits a second 180. You know, he won the World Match Play in July. Great response here, though, from Kyle. Unlucky.
140.
He trounced Michael van Gerwen in the final, but significantly for me, one of the best games that we've seen for many a year. When he beat Gary Anderson in the semi-finals, Anderson will feel that maybe he should have won that, but under pressure, for the first time in a long time, Phil Taylor toughed it out and won.
Yeah.
You know, and that came after a really, well, a poor year by Taylor's standards.
Most definitely. I mean, the two best players of the season so far, if you take Phil out of that equation, arguably Gary Anderson and Michael Van Gerwen. But what Phil has done, he's kept the crowd quiet so far. He thought it was the break. There's one more before the break, Phil. You've got to stay on that stage and keep enjoying yourself.
Well, 10 darter from Taylor to go 6-1 up. It's emphatic, it's impressive, it's 113 average. At the moment, there's not really too much that Kyle Anderson can do. Consolation for the Aussie will be a cheque for $18,000, which will help. But also the achievement of beating Barneveld and Whitlock and gracing the stage in Sydney and really making a name for himself again, but making a name for himself in his homeland.
Correct. I mean, if he goes back to the Pro Tour and he has to play someone like Simon Whitlock or Raymond van Barneveld or anybody of that stature, he's going to draw on the experience and the joy of winning those particular games, and it's going to help him in his future endeavours.
80.
Look at that, he's only had one dart and a double, and that was at the Bull. They took out 167, so that's how dominant Taylor has been.
Well, we said before the commentary started with Adam that the scary prospect is that Phil can play better than 110. He's proving that right now on 112. He really, really wants that world record average of 120, doesn't he, Stu?
He's chasing it. He'll be chasing Kyle Anderson in this one. Well done, Anderson.
And he wants it to be 6-2 at the break so he can come back and see if he can wrap off a really, really good spell.
96.
And if he can take out this 41, likelihood is he'll go for 9 to leave double 16. Has a double look at it. There it is. Keeps his 100% checkout ratio going.
Yeah, well done. Kyle Anderson won't give up, that's for sure. It's a big ask against Phil Taylor in this sort of form. Taylor averaging 111. But Kyle Anderson fighting all the way.
His routine every day before he plays a TV match is he goes for a very, very long walk.
43.
For a mid-50-year-old, he's extremely fit. He's got 130 here. He's going to go 60. He probably wouldn't have gone for the bullseye because Kyle's back on 262. But one thing you might want to look closely at Phil Taylor when he comes to the board next. It's quite hot on that stage, but you can't see a bead of sweat on him.
92. Phil requires 74.
Very, very cool, very composed. Tops for 7-2 then.
54.
Visibly annoyed with that, Phil. He wants to be clinical, he wants to get this game done. Kyle had a 170 chance.
100.
Straight tunnelies from 70, but Phil, 3-shot routine, right in front of the left dominant eye for double 10. Not a good guide. An inch to the left. A little bit more. Oh, Taylor's giving him a chance.
No, you don't see that very often. 4 missed darts and a double. Can Kyle take his chance? Tops hasn't missed a double yet. Brilliant Kyle Anderson. 4 missed darts from Philip Taylor. Kyle Anderson 3 out of 3 on the doubles.
And rightly, Stu has broken his throw, but the only reason he was able to break the throw there was a little wobble from Mr. Taylor. Doubles this game and the last game. Fantastic checkered percentages from Kyle Anderson. Very encouraging signs for him. Phil's got to go back into the best mode that he can be.
Well, our resident Anorak, our statistician Richard Ashdown, telling us that Kyle Anderson's checkout percentage for the tournament, 68% for the tournament. That's incredible.
That is very, very good. As a professional dart player, we always look at about 50% being the benchmark. It used to be around 33. You'd say 1 in every 3 darts. Most importantly, I think, is that every time you have a chance, you have to take it on that visit, and that makes you very, very dangerous. And I think that's what Kyle has been doing this week.
What's the best checkout percentage you've ever had in a big game, do you think?
82%, Stu. Played Steve Farmer in the first round of the World Championships, and I think that was the best statistically. But when I played Phil Taylor in the semi-finals of the Players' Championship, you know, the first 15 legs of that match, I was almost at 100%, and a lot of those were bullseyes.
One magical night for Paul Nicholson at the Circus Tavern nearly 5 years ago.
You're getting old, Stuart.
Well, they can't take it away from you. There's a lot of good players who haven't won a major TV event, that's for sure.
That's for sure. We talk to the statisticians on a regular basis, and the thing that boggles my mind sometimes is that, yes, I've won 4 Pro Tour titles, including the coveted Australian Open, which I love to play in. Taylor now, 45 for double 16. There it is. No chances this time, Kyle. 7-3 it is to Taylor.
Yeah, it was important there that Kyle Anderson, after breaking Phil Taylor, produced a strong leg of darts on his own throw to hold his own throw. He just didn't do that. There was no pressure on Taylor whatsoever. And if you're going to get back into the game, you break Taylor, you've got a hold in the next leg.
There are 2 ways you can beat Phil Taylor, in my opinion. You can be a massive power scorer, like a Gary Anderson, a Dave Chisnell, a Michael Van Gerwen. Give yourself more chances at doubles. Or the other way, as Kyle has shown to win legs, take out big shots, or if you get one shot at a double, take it.
96.
As we were talking about, Stuart, with tournament wins, there's a lot of guys out there, a lot of great players who have not lifted a TV tournament. There's also a lot of great players who haven't won in the PDC circuit. That's how tough it is these days.
Getting harder as well.
It's all these kids. Where are all these kids coming from? They all seem to be coming from St. Helens.
100.
I'll raise a glass to that.
Has that got something to do with rugby by any chance?
Well, looking forward to the rugby on Sunday. Paul and I and a few friends are off to watch Manly in the NRL here in Australia. Should be a good day. And we've seen some great darts here over the last 3 days. Looks like Phil Taylor against Stephen Bunting in the final here in Sydney.
And we've got some very big major tournaments coming up in the PDC in the next 3 or 4 months, and Phil will probably use this tournament as a real benchmark of where he's at, and it's looking pretty ominous.
Well, brilliant pressure from Kyle Anderson, but will Kyle get a dart and a double? Taylor here, a dart at double 16. Oh, lethal. He knows how important that is, and for Kyle Anderson standing behind, you're thinking miss, go on, just miss. No chance.
Not a chance at all. That's what Phil does when he wants to send a message. He always goes for bull on 66, because he knows the people behind him think that's a little bit cocky, you should be going for treble 10, but he always goes for bull double 8, and that little celebration was just to say to Kyle, I'm the boss.
84.
Well, match averages, matching tournament averages. He's given it a real go, Kyle Anderson. You always got the feeling it was going to be one step too far after heroics of his wins over Barneveld and Whitlock, but it's been a week to remember in Sydney for the Aussie Anderson.
Certainly has. Another 180 from Philip Taylor. He wants to sprint to the line. He doesn't want to draw this out. He wants to win the next 2 legs, get a little break and play the final. But Kyle's going to do everything he possibly can to stop that. I wonder in this format, Stuart, has anybody come back from this deficit in this format? That'd be an interesting one for Richard to look at.
I can't finish now. Needs a big treble though.
Kyle was looking for 2 bullseyes and double 16 there. 25 would have given him another chance. But Phil with 97, single 19 each, 78. No finish on this occasion, but 20 sets up top. So Kyle comes back for 80.
Hasn't missed a dart at a double. He's going to get only one here. Tops.
I think that second dart was very awkward. When he hit 80 last night, the dart was a lot lower towards the treble 20 segment, so he had a lot more room to look at it. Taylor with the same segment for 9-3. Couple of centimetres off. Double 10. Gets it this time. Oh, a little ear flick. A little bit of banter with the crowd. But he's nice and relaxed. It's not bothering him because he's 6 legs in front and Kyle isn't.
So Taylor here throwing for a place in another final in Australia, another final here in Sydney.
Phil does like playing in Australia. He's another former Australian Open champion. That trophy was actually played for recently, and I believe it was won by Loz Ryder.
He's qualified for the World Championship.
140.
Taylor on very same terms here with Taylor. Taylor has got the throw. Don't see Phil off his routine much there. Maybe somebody said something in the crowd.
96.
It's a good recovery.
Do you is it just a lone voice you hear? I mean, obviously there's always the banter and the buzz and the vibe of the crowd, but I presume it's just one lone voice.
When you've got the white noise of Premier Leagues and big venues, you can't hear a thing, it's just noise. But when you're getting extremely good order from these Australian people, generally that one voice, you can definitely hear that. Smaller the venue, there's more individual voices that you hear. It's a big crowd this, but what I will say, they've been very boisterous, but during the throw, their order has been amazing.
100.
Well, Kyle has given himself a chance to win a fourth leg. It'll be a break of throw as well.
100.
We're looking at another shot at the bullseye. Up top, treble 20 required. Now it's treble 19. 88 remaining, so you go treble 16.
55.
Probably would have gone to treble 20 to leave double 14 there, but it was blocked by the first dart. So Taylor for the match. Treble 19. Not on this occasion, so he's got 70 left.
56.
Kyle has another chance to take fourth leg of his own.
And well deserved it would be too. Double 12 for the Aussie. Well done.
Very well done from Kyle. Composed himself after that first miss on double 12. And a perfect adjustment right in the middle of the segment. 9-4 Taylor. Still a big exodus between the two players. All he's got to do now, Stu, is win 6-0.
He's got a future in this sport, of that was no doubt. It's always going to be difficult to juggle. It must be so difficult. Given the Pro Tour go, he's moved over to the UK, but whether he has the funds to be able to stay there and beyond and keep going, it's very, very difficult. He's been very brave in giving it a go on the Pro Tour, playing week in, week out with the big boys of the sport.
Yeah, it's very difficult, especially from this side of the world. There's been some great Kiwis, some fantastic Aussies in the past. A lot of representatives have come over for the World Championships, as Kyle has done on a couple of occasions in the last couple of years. But it's a huge, huge move. If you're a young kid in Germany or Holland, it's such a much easier thing to fly an hour instead of 22, 23 hours away and give up family, jobs, houses, and it's the risk. You've got to basically be one of the best players in the world to make a living at this.
Yeah, and Kyle's got a big decision to make in the next couple of months. Phil Taylor fires in a fourth maximum. Yeah, he's got to decide whether he stays in the UK or he comes home to Perth. Will those be the last three darts that Kyle Anderson throws, though? Taylor here looking at 81 for the match. Double 12 for Phil Taylor to go through to the final here in Sydney. Emphatic again from Phil Taylor, but a lot of respect for Kyle Anderson. The Aussie giving it a real go against Phil Taylor, but it will be Phil Taylor against Stephen Bunting in our final here in Sydney. 12 months ago, Taylor took out Michael van Gerwen to win the first ever Sydney Darts Masters. Taylor against Bunting.